Well, joining me now to talk more about this, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. He serves on 4 Senate committees, including the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator Graham, welcome back to This Week on Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, you obviously paying close attention to the president's shift in tone toward Russia. How did we get here?
Putin overplayed his hand. Trump has tried very hard to end this war, to get Putin at the table, to have an honorable and just peace, to make sure there's no third invasion. There'll be land swaps involved probably at the end of the day. But, he's done everything I know a president could do to persuade through cajoling and, a light touch to get Putin to the table. Well, that's not working. So this was a game changer. What President Trump said is very important, and I want your listeners to understand. In that social posting, true social posting, he said the United States, our country, will sell Europe all the high-end weapons Ukraine needs, and they can be used in an unlimited fashion. Now, what does that mean? That means that the Russian generals are going to be facing a Ukrainian army with more weapons, with no restrictions, the opposite of what Biden did. And if you think Russia's having a hard time now with Ukraine, just wait a few more months. This was a game changer.
The president also, in his address to the United Nations, he called out Europe specifically for funding the war machine of Russia by the purchasing of their oil. That's something you've been addressing, trying to get sanctions placed on Russia.
Yeah, so look, there's sort of 3 buckets here. More weapons for Ukraine, less oil revenue for Russia, security guarantees to make sure Putin doesn't invade the third time. That's sort of the mix here. As to oil revenues for Russia, Europe has reduced its dependency on Russian oil and gas a lot. We're down to 3 countries in NATO that buy Russian oil: Turkey, Hungary, and Slovakia. Trump met with President Erdogan today in Turkey and asked him to stop buying oil from Russia. I'm of the belief that if China, Brazil, India, the 3 largest purchasers, all went to Putin and said, we can't buy your oil anymore until you get to the peace table, this war would be over quickly. So the idea that Europe is still funding Putin's war machine is pretty hard to swallow. And I think Europe needs to up their game, or they're going to run into the wrath of Trump. You saw what happened when he believed that Putin wasn't doing what he needed to do to have peace. He unleashed American military weapons on Russian forces by selling the weapons to Ukraine. Europe could be in a world of hurt if they don't change their game here.
Well, Hungary is a close ally of the United States. Why have they not yet come alongside the United States in this?
Because Russian oil is so much cheaper. Putin's selling it dirt cheap. India, the second largest purchaser of Russian oil, buys Russian oil, refines it in India, and sells it to Europe at a profit. So, the price of Russian oil is well below the market, and that's where Putin gets his money to keep his war machine going. So it's just simply blood money greed. And I'm going to come up with a proposal, and when I do, I'll let you know, to let countries like Hungary and Slovakia understand that you need to find an alternative to Russian oil and gas, and America has the capability. I'm going to be doing an op-ed piece with Secretary of Energy Wright, where we can come up with the plan fairly quickly to make sure that Hungary and Slovakia can get off Russian oil and gas, and America will step in to fill the void.
Well, this could be good for American producers as well, because it will revive what the Biden policies basically squashed.
You got it. Biden would not let Ukraine have the high-end weapons. He put restrictions on the weapons. No long-range artillery, no F-16s, no this, no tanks. And the war just got out of hand. Weak and indecisive presidents lead to war. It takes a strong, decisive president to regain the peace. And that's what Trump has become, in my view. I know you're a big Reagan fan, so am I. But I'm telling you right now, what I'm seeing from President Trump is he's resetting the world in all the right ways. He's standing solidly behind Israel as the whole world piles on. He's telling Europe, you're part of the problem, not the solution. He went to the UN and called them out, and he's laying the law down to Putin. And I think that's a good thing.
You mentioned his meeting with Turkish President Erdogan. Erdogan wants the F-35s. He has called Hamas not a terrorist organization, but basically, a group just looking for freedom. Is there going to be a trade-off if Turkey backs away from buying Russian oil? I mean, the law would have to be changed for Turkey to get the F-35s, right?
Yeah, I don't see that in anytime in the near future. Turkey's a NATO ally. They've helped some, but the animosity toward Israel is just over the top. They've just purchased F-16s made in South Carolina, which will make the Turkish Air Force more capable and more valuable ally regarding NATO. But they've had fights with the Kurds, and the Kurds are the ones that helped us, Tony, destroy ISIS in northeastern Syria. So it's a pretty complicated region, and I'm hoping that Turkey will be pushing Putin to the peace table. If they wanted to change their image in America, stop buying Russian oil and get to the table.
Senator Graham, 30 seconds left. Timetable here. Are we now looking at weeks, months to the end of this war in Ukraine?
Well, I told the administration I'd like to have him at the table by Christmas. That's only possible if people will stop buying his oil and gas. He has no money outside of oil and gas revenue. The key is what Trump is saying, or what I've been saying. Isolate his oil revenue, and he'll come to the table.
And you've been leaning in on that from the start. It is an economic way to resolve an armed dispute, and I applaud that. Senator, thanks so much for joining us.